Him and I have the type of relationship where trials and tribulations actually bring us closer together.
After being there for about a year or so, dating around, I feel pretty empty. And I honestly remember hitting my knees and praying that God would bring me the woman that He made for me. And it was a couple months later after that, I met Mikki.
My dad was military, so I could spot military a mile away. I said, and I have always said, I will never, ever get involved with a military guy. I know what that did to me growing up. I know what that did to our family growing up. Like, nope, military's not for me. God's pretty funny. We met January 4th of 2003. We were married June 13th of 2003. We had our daughter in 2004. She was born February 2004, Mackenzie. She would prove to be the glue that held our family together for sure. Yeah. Our daughter was not quite a year old, and he got his first deployment. The Air Force deployed him to Japan, and he was gone for 5-6 months. I knew what it felt like as a child, to have your dad deployed. It's quite a bit different because as a spouse of a military member, you are now mom and dad. We maybe got to talk to him once a month while he was gone. I would send him little DVDs of our daughter. I would video her every second of every day, and I would just send him stacks of videos of her just growing up because, he missed her first birthday and, missed her first steps, and that was pretty tough. I had to become an independent parent pretty quick.
The toughest part was longing to be with your family the whole time and then coming home and almost feeling like they don't need you or want you.
In August of 2012, they cut his recruiting tour and they pulled him back into active duty. So he ended up getting orders to Little Rock, Arkansas. So end of 2012, we packed back up and moved to start all over again. Now we're in an area where I don't have core family. We don't know anybody. This is a place that none of us have ever been. And so it really was back to our close-knit family. He's my support, I'm his support until we can start to get to know people. So our son was born May 2013. And as timing always seems to work out, it was September of 2013 he got his second deployment. So first deployment was when our daughter was an infant. Second deployment was when our son was an infant. This one military spouse was really all I had. My parents were 12 hours away. His family closest was 5 hours away. So that's when, early on I had started to develop that independent mindset. It was really solidified in Arkansas. It was me or nothing. You can even see in my Facebook, my photos, it was like a very clear line of just cut from community. I'm a psychologist, right? I know. Community is essential to survival. We are created to have community. We're created to have relationship. You can't do things on your own, no matter how much God has you. You're still meant to have that.
I knew it was going to be tough. Leading up to it, I definitely battled it and was near depression, honestly. I knew how tough it was going to be on her with 2 kids now and me being gone, to Afghanistan for 6 months. And we actually landed in Afghanistan on September 11th. And we were actually getting attacked. It was very different from the last deployment. This one was actually in hostile territory. So, being unsettled and not sure what's going on at home and then landing on September 11th, which brings back memories for us all, but then actually taking fire. We were taking mortar rounds and rockets, standing on the tarmac. So then we're rushing for cover, and that was an immediate realization that this was going to be a little bit different. And if I was going to get through this, it was going to have to be with God. So while I was deployed, I think we both really dove into our relationship with God.
It was actually coming up at that point where he was due to re-enlist anyway, so his time in service was about to end. So after we kind of weighed all of our options and figured out where we were at, he decided to go ahead and separate from active duty. And that was around October of 2014.
That was definitely something we sat down, we prayed about, and I have no doubt that God was leading us in that direction.
From the history that I came from, a lot of rejection, a lot of, burnout, and a lot of anytime I tried to be vulnerable with people, it just led to more rejection and more shutdown. I had a huge wall up, and there was, not even a church that was gonna break that down, or so I thought. And there was one Sunday we had come, Kenny was not there because he was actually doing his guard duty that weekend. But Pastor Keith had gotten up on stage, he started talking about masterminds. Little did I know that through that masterminds process, I would actually grow so much closer to God and so much faster than any other just sitting in a Sunday service ever would. He started to come to masterminds with me. He actually only got 2 sessions in, I think, before then the National Guard spoke up.
People were coming across the borders in droves, bringing drugs. Human trafficking is a big deal. So the state of Texas activated 10,000 National Guard personnel.
They get down to the border and they're, 4 weeks in, nobody's gotten a paycheck. There's a lot of pressure on these men and women, and finance wasn't sorted out yet. We had let some people at the church know, especially, masterminds were like, well, so Kenny's not gonna be here anymore because, he's getting deployed. So for us, it was just like, very nonchalant, just like, yeah, he's getting deployed. The response was so different. It was an immediate, what can I do for you? What do you need?
Luckily enough, I was put as the senior non-commissioned officer in charge over about 150 men and women. So I was in a leadership position, and instantly I knew that God had put me in that position because of the leader I had become through and what I had learned through Elevate.
Just about a week later, we had our next masterminds meeting. So we're going through our updates again, and I just share what was going on down there. This is what they're struggling with. This is what they're having a hard time with. He's trying to, lead these guys, and they can't get their minds off of the fact that they can't even afford to go get lunch today. On the side, one of the guys in our masterminds is making some connections. So by the time I get done, he looks up at me and he says, Mikki, tell Kenny, don't worry, we got this. And I kind of just looked at him, I said, okay, thank you. And then later on, he kind of pulled me aside, he said, I was texting our Mighty Men. He said, I was texting our leaders in Mighty Men. He said, we're gonna pull a special giving this Saturday. We're gonna have people, whatever they can give, however much we can gather, whatever God's gonna put on this church, we're going to send funds to the men and women at the border. We're gonna send it directly to Kenny so that he can distribute it to whoever needs it. God put it on my heart to sign up for Freedom, which started that August, knowing that October, he was gonna leave again. And my automatic default is head down, butt up, this is on my shoulders, it's on me, this is where we're going. Well, not in Freedom, it's not. When you start to carry baggage into a place where people are letting go of baggage, they can see it. So on the Mighty Men side, they're pulling together funds for these guys, and then within my little small Freedom group, She puts out there, she challenges people, I've got $100, meet my $100, and she starts taking in money. We're not financially hurting, so he was giving his paychecks to the men and women down there. So with what this house has done in terms of showing the example of take care of people, when somebody's in need, step up and do something about it. On top of that too, right? I've spoken before about that when he was deployed when we were in Arkansas, I had to take care of the lawn and all the fixins and all of this and that. I didn't even have to ask. A couple from the church who owns a landscaping and lawn business, he's over there at my house mowing my lawn. He's like, I got you. My lawn's taken care of, and I didn't even have to ask. That's just the type of support that the people who are involved with ELC provide. You don't even have to ask. They see your need and they fill it. That's belonging.
The one thing that I really, really love about Elevate is that it is a huge community of people that are okay with being vulnerable and being real and authentic. And it's something so freeing and something so amazing about just letting that vulnerability set in and being authentic around people. You know, it's not the kind of church where people are trying to act like they all have it together. Like, people are very upfront about talking about what they're struggling with and asking for help. And I think just like the military, when you have those struggles and people know what you're going through, it creates this glue and this bond.
I have nothing but a heart to want to follow that culture. I want nothing more than to be somebody who can fill a need, because that's what ELC has done for me.